So what is property management? Everything a first-time landlord needs to know. Here's something that nobody tells you when you become a landlord for the first time. There are hundreds of laws governing your property, hundreds. And you're expected to know them because I didn't know is not a defense when a tenant's attorney sends you a demand letter. I've been doing this for over 13 years. I manage over 19 properties across Southern California, and I still learn new things about this job. So if you just inherited a property or you're renting out your home for the first time, or you're even just thinking about it, this video is going to walk you through exactly what property management actually is, what it costs you in time, money, sleep, how to figure out whether you should do it yourself or hire someone. Let's get into it. So, property management at the most basic level, it's overseeing the operations of a rental property. But that definition doesn't even come close. What is it really? It's being organized, it's being emotionally intelligent, it's being good with people. It's making decisions when there are usually multiple right answers and knowing which right answer is the best one for this owner, this tenant, this property right now. And I should be clear, property management generally refers to doing this for someone else. If you manage your own rental, you usually don't walk around saying, I do property management, right? But you're doing property management, you're just your own client. Either way, whether you do this yourself or you hire someone, the job's the same. You're managing an asset that produces a reliable stream of income. You want to reduce your risk, manage your expenses, and provide service and support to the tenant. Now that's a simple version. Let me tell you what it actually looks like day to day. And that starts with understanding the real scope of the job, because I promise it's bigger than you think. We break property management into 3 phases. Phase 1 is leasing. This is from the moment a tenant moves out to the moment a new tenant moves in. You do a move-out inspection, you build the list of repairs, you get the property rent ready. We'll come back to what that means in a bit. You price the rental, you market it, you show it, screen applicants, you handle the legal side of tenant selection, arrange the move-in, handle utilities, coordinate with the HOA if there is one, and then the new tenant walks in the door. That ends phase 1. So phase 2 is occupied property management. This is the ongoing stuff, right? Your routine repairs, tenant compliance issues, noise complaints, unauthorized occupants, lease violations, rent collection. If they don't pay the rent, right, you're issuing a 3-day notice. You're fielding support questions, handling maintenance requests, coordinating lease renewals. This is the phase that most people picture when they think property management. It's also the phase that's easy, until it's not. Phase 3 is the finance side. Accounting, paying bills, owner statements, tax documents. This part isn't glamorous, but if you mess it up, you hear about it. And here's what I want you to understand. At our company, Good Life, we have a proven process for all of this. It's documented, it's even on our website. We can show you every step. And the reason we do that is because the scope of this job is so wide that if you don't have a system, things just fall through the cracks. That's true for us, and it's even more true if you're doing this on your own for the first time. And I'm not saying that to scare you or dissuade you from doing it yourself. I'm saying it because when I started, I underestimated this too. Everybody does. You think, how hard can this be? Collect the rent, fix some stuff. And you get that first call about a sewage backup at 11 p.m. on a Friday and you realize, oh, this is a real job. Which brings me to the question I get asked the most. How much time does this actually take? So here's the honest answer. Getting a property leased from tenant move out to new tenant moving in takes roughly 30 hours of work. That's inspections, coordinating repairs, marketing, showings, screening, paperwork, move-in, 30 hours. Now, once a tenant is in and things are stable, ongoing management averages about 2 to 3 hours a month. Now that sounds manageable, right? 2 to 3 hours a month. But here's the part nobody talks about. It's not 2 to 3 hours you could schedule on a Tuesday morning. It's a text at 10 p.m. It's a call during your kid's baseball game. It's context switching. You're in the middle of your actual job and now you have to think about whether a leaking faucet is an emergency or you need to handle it now or wait till Monday or what's it gonna cost now versus Monday. It's just the mental bandwidth that gets people, not the hours, it's the headspace. I talk to owners all the time who say, it only takes me a few hours, and they're right. But then I ask them, well, how often do you think about it? And the answer is always, constantly. And look, if you're someone who likes that, who wants to learn the business, who wants to be in control, and maybe finds this stuff interesting, more power to you. Seriously, some people are great at this. But if you're up at night or you're worrying about whether your tenant's gonna call you when you're busy or pay you on time, that's a sign you might need some help. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because peace of mind has value. And that shift from, I'll do it myself, to maybe I should hire someone, that's actually happening across the entire industry right now. When I started in this business over 15 years ago, about 70% of rental property owners manage their own properties. Only about 30% would hire a property manager. And today, that's almost flipped. Roughly 60% of owners now hire a manager. Why is that? Well, a few reasons. So number one, and this is a big one, is just the rental laws have gotten way more complex, especially in California. There are more protections for tenants, compliance requirements for owners, and more stories, real stories about landlords getting hit with lawsuits, threats of lawsuits they didn't see coming. The tenant's attorney, and I say this respectfully, they know the laws better than most owners do. That's their job, right? So if you miss something, they will find it. Number 2 is the rise of what I call the convenience economy. People use apps to get groceries delivered, to get their car washed. The idea of hiring someone to handle your rental isn't a luxury anymore. It's a logical trade-off for a lot of people. And number 3 is a generational shift. So there was a certain mindset, especially in the older generations, that said, why would I pay someone to do something I can do myself? And I get that, I respect it. But the math has changed because the risk has changed. So if you're thinking about hiring a property manager or wondering if you even need one, let's talk about what they're actually worth. So people hear management fee and they think it's just a cost. So let me reframe that a bit. First, the management fee is tax deductible. So if your management fee is $200, let's say, a month, you're earning $1,000 in rent, you're getting taxed on $800 instead of $1,000. So in California, that's roughly $80 in tax savings right there. And that's just the fee itself. A good property manager, they're gonna help you identify other deductions, like mileage, repairs, vendor costs, things you might not think to write off. Second, it's not just about the money, it's about the time, experience, and protection. A good property manager has seen thousands of situations. They've handled the difficult tenant. They've navigated the legal gray areas. They know when a repair is a $500 fix versus a $5,000 problem that someone's gonna try to upsell you on. Third, and this is one I feel strongly about, is that your tenant should be happy. Your neighbors shouldn't suffer. Your property should be maintained. That's not just good business, that's being a responsible owner. And a property manager helps you do that consistently, not just when you have the bandwidth. I always say, hire people that are better than you. That's not a knock on you, it's the smartest thing any business owner does. You don't do your own taxes, you don't represent yourself in court. So why would you manage a complex asset with hundreds of moving parts and hundreds of laws without any help? And I'm guilty of this too, by the way. Early in my career, I tried to do everything myself. Save a dollar here, save a dollar there. And you know what happened? I made mistakes that cost me way more than what I would have paid someone else. So I'm not sitting here pretending I've always had this figured out. Now, one of the most important things a property manager does, and one of the biggest risks if you get it wrong, is tenant screening. Tenant screening is where the entire trajectory of your investment gets set. Get this right and you could have a tenant who pays on time, takes care of the property, and stays for years. Get it wrong, and you're looking at missed rent, property damage, and potentially a very expensive eviction, which in California, by the way, is not the fastest. Here's what screening actually involves. You're pulling a credit report, you're verifying income, checking rental history, calling previous landlords, running background checks, and you have to do all this within the bounds of fair housing laws. You can't ask certain questions, and you can't use certain criteria, and the rules, they're specific. This is one of those areas where a tenant's attorney, if things go sideways, will look at your screening process with a magnifying glass. Did you follow the law? Did you apply your criteria consistently? And did you document everything? A good property manager has a documented, legally compliant screening process that they apply the same way every single time. That consistency protects you. If you're doing this for yourself for the first time, I'd strongly recommend getting educated on fair housing laws before you even list the property, because one mistake here can follow you. And that actually leads into something I hear all the time from people who don't fully understand what goes into this job. The biggest misconception about property management is that it's just collecting rent. I hear this constantly. Why would I pay someone to collect the rent? I can do that with Venmo. And if that were the whole job, you'd be right. But collecting rent is maybe 5% of what property management is. The other 95% is everything we've been talking about: inspections, repairs, legal compliance, tenant communication, vendor coordination, accounting, and all the problem solving that happens between those things. The other misconception is that it's not necessary. And honestly, for some people, it's not. If you have one property, maybe you have a great tenant, you're handy yourself, maybe you know the laws, or you have the time, you might be just fine managing it yourself. I'm not here to tell you that everyone needs a property manager, but what I am here to tell you is this: know what you're signing up for. Because a lot of first-time landlords underestimate this, and by the time they realize it's more than they've bargained for, they've already made mistakes that are expensive to fix. And just being honest with you, there are real downsides to hiring a property manager too. I'm gonna be upfront about this because hiring a property manager isn't for everyone. Number one, it costs money. There's no way around that. You're paying a management fee, and depending on the company, you might be paying a leasing fee, renewal fees, maintenance fees. You need to understand the fee structure and what fees go to what services before you sign anything. Number 2, you can't always be passive. Even with a great manager, there are decisions that need your input. Maintenance decisions especially. Should we replace the whole water heater or just make a repair? Should we repaint or touch up? A good manager will guide you, but it's still your property and your money. Number 3, and this is the hardest one, it's hard to find a good property manager. I'll be the first to say it. Our industry doesn't have the greatest reputation, and some of it is earned. There are companies out there that are not transparent, they don't communicate very well, they'll cut corners, and I hate that because it makes it harder for companies in our space to do it right. Number 4 is there's lots of gray areas in property management. It's a business full of judgment calls where two approaches could both be reasonable and they could lead to different outcomes. If your philosophy doesn't align with your manager's philosophy, that friction will build over time. Which leads me to the mistakes I see first-time landlords make most often, and these apply whether you do it yourself or you hire someone. Mistake number 1, underpricing your property or overpricing it. Both hurt you. Underprice and you're leaving money on the table every single month. Overprice, property sits vacant, which can cost you even more. Pricing takes real market knowledge, not just looking at what Zillow says. Mistake number 2, skipping the rent-ready process. I always say that you're gonna attract the type of tenant that you present the property as. Meaning, if the property looks neglected, you're gonna attract the tenant who's okay with a neglected property. If it's clean, everything works, everything's freshly painted, you're gonna attract the tenant who treats properties that way. Mistake number 3 is not documenting the property's condition. Move-in inspections, photos, and written reports is your protection. When a tenant moves out and there's damage and you don't have documentation of what it looks like before, you've got nothing. I've seen this go sideways many times. Mistake number 4 is not understanding the laws. And this is a big one in California, which is the most tenant-friendly state, in my opinion. Security deposit rules, notice requirements, just cause eviction, rent caps. If you don't know these, you are exposed. And again, the tenant's attorney knows them, guaranteed. And a lot of these attorneys, they work for free. Mistake number 5 is trying to be friends with your tenant. This one's uncomfortable, but it's real. You can be friendly, you can be kind, you can be responsive, I hope you are, but the relationship is professional. When you blur that line, it gets very hard to enforce the lease. And honestly, I'm guilty of some of these, especially early on. The documentation one especially. I thought, I'll remember what the property looked like. I didn't, you don't, ever. So just document everything. One more thing I want to cover that most people don't think about until it's too late. So whether you hire a property manager or you do it yourself, you need a list of preferred vendors. Plumbers, electricians, handymen, painters, HVAC techs. And you need to build relationships with these people before you need them. Here's why. When something breaks at your rental, and it will, you need someone you trust to show up, fix it right. Not whoever's available on Yelp at 9 p.m., somebody you've worked with, somebody who's insured, who does good work at a fair price. At Good Life, we have a preferred vendor list that we've built over the years, and we know these people, we've vetted them. They're insured, and that matters, especially when there's a tenant living in the property. Because when you send a vendor into someone's home, you're putting your reputation and your liability on the line. So the best time to build these relationships with vendors is early, before you have an emergency. Because I promise you, the worst time to find a plumber is when there's water pouring through your tenant's ceiling. And this is just a customer service thing too. We know there's a problem. We know it needs fixing. We want reliability. The tenant wants to know that when they report something, it gets handled by someone competent. That trust matters more than owners realize. All right, let me tie this all together. Look, if you made it this far, you're clearly taking this seriously, and that already puts you ahead of most first-time landlords. Here's the bottom line. Property management is a real job. Whether you do it yourself or you hire someone, the scope is bigger than most people expect. The laws are complex, the decisions matter, and the cost of getting it wrong financially, legally, emotionally is real. My advice, get educated. That's what this channel is all about. We're gonna keep making videos that walk you through the real stuff, not the generic advice you find everywhere, but what actually happens when you own a rental property. If you're in San Diego, Orange County, Riverside, and you wanna talk to us about managing your property, there's a link in the description. We'll walk you through our process, show you exactly what we do, and you can decide if it's the right fit. And if you're managing on your own and just wanna learn, subscribe, because we've got a lot more coming. I'm Steve Welty with Good Life Property Management. Thank you for watching.